Welcome to Eerie Bites of History, your daily serving of strange bites of the past. Today we're looking back into history with 3 eerie stories, all of which happened on July 7th. Let's begin. On July 7th, 1930, a young surveyor named Harold Tierney fell to his death while working at the construction site of the Hoover Dam, one of the most ambitious engineering projects in American history. His death may have been written off as a workplace tragedy, if not for one haunting detail. Harold's father, J.G. Tierney, also died in that exact location on July 7, 1916, exactly 14 years earlier to the day. J.G. had been part of an early expedition crew tasked with surveying Black Canyon, where the dam would eventually rise. He drowned in a sudden flash flood, one of the first recorded fatalities linked to the dam project. While his son followed in his footsteps years later, Harold often spoke of feeling an invisible weight pressing on him in the canyon. Some workers said he talked about seeing his father's shadows in the rocks. The day Harold died, he was reportedly in good spirits. Then, without warning, he slipped and plummeted hundreds of feet to his death on the very same jagged outcrop where his father was last seen alive. No one could explain why a seasoned surveyor would have misjudged his footing on familiar terrain. Locals began whispering a family curse. Some even refused to return to the spot where the Tierneys fell. Rumors spread that the canyon itself was rejecting the family and that the spirits of the dead were restless, especially those who died before the dam was completed. The eerie symmetry between father and son dying 14 years apart to the day in the same karst canyon continues to fuel speculation that the Hoover Dam was haunted long before the first brick was even laid. On July 7, 2003, a group of 4 friends set out for a weekend camping trip in a remote area of Montana known as Deadman's Gulch, a stretch of rugged wilderness steeped in local legend of disappearances and strange lights in the sky. They were experienced hikers, well prepared, and brought along a dog whose name was Max, a loyal German shepherd who had accompanied them on dozens of trips before. When the ranger passed through the area 2 days later, he found their campsite had been in a condition that defied logic. The tent had been ripped open from the inside, the zipper still intact, sleeping bags were neatly arranged, food untouched in the coolers. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, no personal items even missing. Just emptiness. Even stranger, there were no footprints leading away from the site, not from the campers, not from Max. Weeks later, Max reappeared on a nearby logging roll, starved, shaking, and visibly aged. Once vibrant dog, was moving with a limp, had a significant gray around his muzzle, and would growl at empty corners. Veterinarians estimated that he had aged several years in the span of just 3 weeks. Max refused to go near the wooded area again and would cry uncontrollably at night, often scratching at doors as if he was trying to escape from something. No trace of the campers was ever found. No bodies, no gear, not even a shred of clothing. Some believe the group stumbled upon a natural anomaly, a time slip, or a dimensional rift that aged the dog but consumed the others. To this day, Deadman's Gulch is avoided by locals who say that the forest area doesn't just lose people, it takes them. On July 7, 1980, a 29-year-old hiker named Jason Bell emerged from the dense forest of the Three Sisters Wilderness in Oregon, 2 weeks after vanishing without a trace. He'd set out alone on a short solo backpacking trip, expecting to return in 3 days. When he failed to check in, search and rescue teams were deployed. Helicopters, dogs, and dozens of volunteers combed the forest, but no signs were ever found. Then, 14 days later, Jason was spotted walking barefoot down a remote service road. His clothing was ragged but intact, his skin pale, his eyes sunken and wide with terror. He was unharmed, with no injuries, no sign of dehydration or malnutrition, despite being lost in the wild for 2 weeks with no supplies. What was most unsettling was Jason had no memory of where he'd been. He could recall hiking up to the ridge for the first day, then nothing. A strange low humming sound that he said wasn't coming from anything human. Doctors examined him and found no head trauma, no use of drugs. Mentally, he was lucid, but emotionally, he was shattered. Over the following weeks, Jason became incredibly afraid of the dark. He refused to enter wooded areas and reported he had vivid screaming nightmares. In one of the few times he spoke about what happened, he muttered a single chilling phrase: "The trees. They were watching, and they were singing." To this day, nobody knows what happened during those lost 2 weeks. Some suggest that Jason may have wandered into an area of high strangeness, a natural anomaly, or a paranormal hotspot. Others whispered about government black sites hidden in the wilderness. Whatever the truth is, Jason never hiked again. Like your history snack-sized? Drop us a comment with your favorite bite and subscribe. Join us daily for your eerie dose of the past.